This week on Overbore, the microphone didn't bother to record this bit, which was helpful. It's a shame, really, because frankly it was brilliant. Some of the best podcasting you've ever heard. Except you're not going to hear it. You'll never hear it. You're missing out, believe me. And instead you're stuck with me doing this kind of aftermarket voiceover. Sorry about that. Anyway, we'll be talking about small cars in a small car and trying to work out why it seems to be so hard for manufacturers to make small cars these days. We'll be remembering the cars we liked but never loved. We'll be discussing why you'll need to recharge your dashboard fish in an electric car in the future. And we'll be finding out just how many cup holders there are in a Daihatsu Sirion. Plus, the story of the legendary estate. Oh, we spoil you. Hello and welcome to... Oh no, that's way too loud. I got very...
It's still the morning. I was only just... got very excited.
Very enthusiastic for a minute.
I'm so pleased to be here.
Hi, jazz hands.
It's the car, isn't it?
It's because you're back. That's why.
Is that what it is?
I'm excited.
It's weird because it normally has the opposite effect. It normally pulls people down. Yeah.
Right. Hello and welcome to Overbore.
I'm leaving that bit in, by the way.
God, don't blame you. Hello and welcome to Overbore.
For the third time. Last week, you just got into it. You did your little intro, and it was all organised, and you did it. And even I messaged you and said, that's quite a good intro. I quite like that. And then now...
Do you know how many goes I had at doing that intro?
I can believe quite a few.
A lot.
Yeah. Well, if it's anything like now, this is like pulling teeth.
That's atrocious, isn't it?
It's,
right, let's try again.
This really has gone to shit. This is all going in, so you can...
Take 17.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Overbore. It's Overbore episode... 7? 7.
Am I supposed to count?
I don't know. I'm Scrof.
Oh, it is 7. Yeah,
it is 7. I'm Scrof. This is Kitch. Hello.
All right.
Good. We'll take it. We'll do that. And this is, unfortunately for you, Overbore, where we're going to talk about some stuff.
Don't be so self-deprecating.
Well, it's
They might have clicked this on purpose. And to be honest, the only people who still be listening after all that shite will be the people who did click it on purpose.
So if you're still with us, thank you.
Yeah.
We owe you a debt of
gratitude. And if they are still with us and they did it by accident, you are our sort of people. Like,
if you're
you have got the right sort of humour.
If you clicked us by accident and you are still with us, then we're very sorry. But also, please stay with us for more of that. If you like that, we've got plenty more of that.
And I hope you find your remote, because they're frantically trying to find it to turn over the channel. And
I love the way you think some people are actually watching us on television.
I know. Well, I love the way that you need a remote.
Just unplug it from the wall. I don't want to hear any more of this.
This isn't BBC 2.
Oh, dear. Right. Well, what have you been up to this week?
That's 10 minutes done, anyway.
Yeah, that's it. That's great. There we go. What have you been up to this week, Rich?
I don't think there's any of your business, to be honest. That's my concern.
Mm-hmm.
Mooching about.
Got
you there, mate.
Being a light.
You've seen that film, have you?
No, I haven't.
Just servicing TVRs.
Great. Well, that's that.
That's what I've been doing. Been servicing TVRs. I've got a very unlucky customer who had a differential rebuilt when I did his chassis by a reputable place, by a guy who knows what he's doing. And I think he's got a malfunctioning diff. He's got some kind of manufacturing error because after 3,000 miles, bearing in mind this guy got his car back in, I don't know, 2019 or something. He's done 3,000 miles since then. The diff is whining its nuts off. It's like I drained all the oil out and there's metal in it, and I thought, okay, so it's only done 37,000 miles from new. And it's had 2 diff rebuilds.
That's not fun.
I said, look, I would not get this diff rebuilt. I would buy another diff and get that rebuilt because there's something intrinsically wrong with this.
With that diff.
Some kind of manufacturing error, or it's cursed. Or
that's got to be so frustrating when you just spent a bunch of money. You thought, right, I've sorted this problem out. I've got it done.
Yeah.
I'm now going to get to enjoy the car, and 3,000 miles later, you can just... Is that?
Yeah, I feel for him.
Can I hear it whining again?
The only advantage he's got in it is because he had it done when I was doing the chassis on it. I'd already stripped the chassis down, so the diff was already out. So there was no labour to remove the diff and put it back in, which would normally be quite a time-consuming thing in itself.
Right.
So it was already out on the floor. So there's no, it's not as bad as it could have been, but it's still, when you've paid to have it refurbished, and you can't even go, I've sent it to some joker,
No.
because we sent it up, actually went back to the old factory.
Oh, really?
It went back to Bristol Avenue.
Oh, right.
By one of the last companies that was still using the old factory at the front.
Oh, wow.
It's all just been bulldozed.
Oh, no.
They've just bulldozed the last buildings.
I didn't know that.
Of the TVR factory.
That's
so it was all very... It's like this. It's ancient and minging. But the site is still owned by Peter Wheeler's wife.
Is it?
The late wife.
I didn't know that.
The late Peter Wheeler's wife.
Well, yeah,
He's dead, she's not.
Right, there we go. Good, we've cleared that up then.
And she owns it. Well, he's very clever because the Russian came in and everyone pins it on him as the baddie. I actually kind of don't.
Oh, okay.
I think he was a little bit naive.
Right, yeah.
And it was just he was a rich boy with a load of money and it was a bit of a plaything. But I think he genuinely had good intentions. Peter Wheeler knew that it was dead in the water when he sold it. He knew this.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
but he didn't sell him the factory. He just sold him the company and then leased the factory to him.
I think that's actually something we should cover in a future episode. You should give us a bit of an ins and outs on why you think the Russian is not at fault.
Well, that's going to be the only time I'm ever going to say those words, isn't it? So, but yeah. So I can't remember how I got onto that. Oh, the diff.
The diff.
Well, yeah, it's bollocks anyway. So,
well, that's good. Great. Excellent stuff. We come to you this week from your wife's Daihatsu Sirion.
Pride and joy.
Pride and joy. Did the Sirion ever get a name?
We originally called it Skit.
Okay.
But we don't really name cars.
Right.
I don't know why people name cars and I never do. And for some reason I've started doing it and then we stopped we stopped because Skit sounds like shit.
Yes. I'd worked that bit out.
That wasn't intentional.
Wasn't it?
No.
I'm surprised at that.
No, Skit is, I suppose I can say, she's doing teacher training.
Right. And
the course that she's doing is called Skit.
Ah.
So
I thought it was a halfway between shit and skip.
No. I
thought it was kind of an amalgam of those two
words.
It's
that would have been much more clever.
Should we just edit this bit out and say it was?
You wouldn't. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. No, it was. I do get to call it the piece of skit sometimes.
I like that, yeah.
But no, we basically got this car as a means to an end because it is the biggest petrol-powered, £35 a year road tax car I found that has a decent-sized. Well, it's not big, but it has
usable.
Quite a lot of space in here.
I have to say.
For the size of car, it's
impressed by how roomy it is.
It's crazy.
We got the seats quite
they're all the way
far back.
Yeah,
but there's still plenty of room.
The leg room in the back of this
are those sliding rear seats as well?
Probably, I don't know.
No, it's not a handle. I thought it was a handle, but it doesn't feel.
They do something funky. I can't remember what it is.
There is something interesting there.
I think the backs recline.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So you can change the angle because the parcel shelf's got a bit of fabric on it, which links between the seat and so you can change the angle of the seats.
There's a few cars that do that. I always find it a bit weird because ostensibly the idea is you give yourself a bit more leg room, a bit more boot room, without having to fold the seats all the way down. So you can still seat people in the back while giving yourself a bit more boot room. But because the seats are then vertical, the people in the back have a horrible time of it.
I don't think they have a particularly good time of it anyway.
That's a fair point.
My kids do not enjoy going in the car.
You surprise me.
I think they worry that they're going to be seen by people, but also it's not. I mean, the stupid thing is, I say to them, look, I know it's not the nicest car.
Yeah.
But this is more comfortable in here than the 106.
Yeah, I can see that.
There's more room
There's
for you.
There's definitely more room than
you
the
have
106.
a door you can get in and out of, and they say, I don't care, I'd rather go in the 106.
I would imagine it's also safer than the 106 as well.
I don't know. I think there was a little bit of that last year, was it, or the year before, where Daihatsu were found to be lying about safety. They've been making. I mean, I can't see why.
There was something about that, wasn't it?
Do you want to know how solid this car is?
Go on.
Right. Put the ignition on.
Okay.
I can't do the test.
For listeners, I am putting the ignition on.
Right. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. Right. Watch the door card.
Okay. I can't see anything.
Watch the gap there.
Okay. Oh, is it closing up? When you put the window up, the door pulls into the...
You might not be able to tell, but I know. Look at the top of the mirror.
I can't see it really.
Putting the window up, the whole door flexes, and the door mirrors lift slightly when the window goes up, and the door card bows out.
Sensational.
Yeah.
That's amazing build quality.
It's
Can you do... we need to do your door clunk as well. for listeners. Rich is...
If you thought a Citroen AX was thin...
Rich is tapping...
That's the sill.
Rich is tapping his car. That's the sound the sill makes.
That's the sill. That's supposed to sound solid. It sounds like it's made of an egg carton. The clunking ability... Hang on, the window is down. That's unfair.
Okay.
It makes the window is structural, so when it goes up, it reinforces the door.
That doesn't sound too bad from here. Okay, it does sound quite bad. I'm trying to be nice to it. I don't really know why.
It doesn't owe you anything.
I think I feel sorry for it. Oh gosh, that's a really, really wobbly glove box lid. I mean, there's a lot of wobble there.
Feel that.
The ashtray opens with the lightest. There's a little catch on the ashtray, and you just need to brush it with your finger. And then it twangs down.
What it is, it's like a credit card,
right,
with a piece of masking tape along the bottom of the hinge. It's not amazing,
but it has got 6 cup holders.
It has got. It's got more cup holders than seats.
Because that's what you need in a small car.
The practicality. You can turn the ignition off now.
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go,
darling. It has got the practicality is off the chart.
Yeah,
and so is the storage space, because you've got all that space in there. Which my wife is carrying around face painting kits, de-icer, now 47.
47.
There's a bottle of drink in here. Look, there's Ribena, sunglasses. Hand sanitizer.
Right,
oh no, it's not. That's another deal. Look at the size of it.
So
it's like one of those.
Nobody right now will be able to work out what we're showing off.
What we're doing is one of those magician drawers where you open it and you're pulling out lampshades.
I do just want to point out that for our listeners and for anyone who's watching, that what looks to be a shelf that's probably about yay high, Richard just pulled a face painting kit out, 2 cans of de-icer, a bottle of Ribena.
Now 42.
Now 47.
42.
Is it 42?
Oh, hang on. Oh no.
47.
It says 42
42
on the back.
top chart hits. Yeah. Now 47.
Robbie Williams, rock DJ.
Martine McCutcheon.
I like mine.
Did you?
I quite like it.
Okay.
Tiffany from EastEnders.
Oh yeah.
I want to have that played at my funeral.
Storm, Time to Burn.
Cremation, when the curtains go.
Oh, I see. Very good. Very good. Yeah, so there's that, and then next to that is another
car podcast,
another enormous bin,
with another CD which is lost in there.
With another, what CD is this?
This is Britney Spears.
Sensational, Baby One More Time. There's an endless array of tissues, some glasses, and some parking tickets, and it's just this magnificent bin you can just throw things into, which is a great thing in a car. It's illuminated.
It's illuminated.
The bin is illuminated.
So you can see your crap at night. I could put a picture of Britney in there,
and you could look at it.
Like, I'd like to look at Britney right now. Oh,
you can have a look.
She's looking at me with those eyes. This is when she had not crazy eyes like now. She's looking at me. So yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
And you've got this is a bottom of the range car, and it is generally
got 4 electric windows.
It has 4 electric windows. Yeah. It has air conditioning.
Good grief.
Which doesn't work. But it doesn't have electrically adjustable mirrors. You'd need to get an SE for that. It has a blanking plate here where the mirror adjuster.
The mirror adjuster would be on the steering column.
It would be there.
How bizarre.
Right? So how do you think you adjust these mirrors?
Well, with your hands, I assume.
On the glass.
You push them up.
There's no remote. There's no control inside the car. No, you just literally have to.
So when it's raining, you have to get your hands wet to adjust the mirrors.
Well, in theory, you only need to adjust them once.
Not if more than one person drives the car.
Well, if they touch your mirrors, then you kill them.
That's the rules, is it?
Yeah. I don't touch her mirrors. I've moved the seat, and she's not going to be happy.
It's going to be helpless. Sorry, Matt. We apologise.
And one thing it also does, which I think this is genuinely, it's the only. There's 2 funky designs on the whole car. Mm-hmm. One of them is the arches are kind of a little bit on the outside. It's got a wheel in each corner.
Yeah.
And the arches are kind of a little bit bulbous and funky looking.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Which is something I sort of found endearing about the car until I learned about all the things that I hate. But one of the things I also like is if you put your hand underneath the steering column.
Okay, yeah.
And adjust the steering.
Right, hang on a minute.
Watch the binnacle.
I can't find it. Is that it? I've got it. Oh, the binnacle goes with it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
It rotates on the front of this curved dashboard.
That's excellent.
What do you think? You're a motoring journalist.
I'd need to drive it to pronounce a proper verdict. So here's the thing.
What's the gear change like?
Oh. Oh, gosh. It manages to be rubbery and notchy at the same time.
Yeah, it's
quite impressive, to be fair. You know what? It's a cheap car, so it's hard to be too cruel to it. But these were not well loved in their day by motoring journalists. What I can't deny is...
3 out of 5 in what car?
That's average.
I thought that seemed generous.
Yeah, it feels... does feel generous.
Don't get me wrong, there are some things about it that I think it actually does quite well.
It's very, very roomy. I have to say that's
because there's no safety equipment.
Ah, yes. Well, there is that. Yeah, and the sills go ting when you knock on them.
It's easy to make a car practical.
Yeah.
And package it well if you have half the amount of metal. Do you know what the curb weight is?
Oh, go on, tell me.
890 kilos.
See, but this reminds me a lot. I used to own, well, actually, again, not technically me, but I bought it when my wife was learning to drive. I had a Kia Picanto, which, very similar idea to this. Cheap and cheerful, little car, lots of room for what it was. And I bought that for 380 quid on eBay.
Oh, wow, that makes this look expensive.
It came with 10 months MOT. And when I went to pick it, the reason I got it was because it was a horrible looking thing, because all the lacquer was peeling off all the plastic bits. So all the plastic bits were kind of pink, but the actual bodywork was still red. Does that make sense? It was really, really grotty.
Almost to the point it looked deliberate.
Yeah, almost, yeah. It was actually quite impressive. And what happened was this dealer had got it in as a part exchange. A woman who'd owned it had come in and bought a cash car, and she literally got to have it. I just want rid of it. And so he just stuck it on eBay. And so I went to pick this thing up, and I was like, okay, great, it'll just be an car. It doesn't matter, it's for Ronnie to learn to drive. It can be trashed, it can be bumped into things, don't really care. Turned up, and he was like, oh, you'll need this, and gives me this big brown envelope full of invoices.
Oh, I thought you were going to say for the cash.
Okay, all right, I wish. I was like, all right, invoice for a time belt in there. Two years ago, I'd had the time belt done. I'd only done 58,000 miles.
Yeah, for a Vauxhall Nova. Like F321SL.
That's not right. And then I got in it, and it had aircon, and the aircon worked. And I was like,
bloody hell.
What is this car?
Yeah,
anyway, my other half, no, you can't buy cars like that anymore, unfortunately. It's sad. My other half had this car probably for about, oh gosh, I can't remember, but it was a good year or so. We stuck it through one MOT, I think. So it would have been about a year and a half. And after she'd learned to drive, it then became her first car, obviously. And she ended up driving down to Falmouth and back again and all over the place. It was an
well, you can say she ended up driving it to Falmouth and she left it there.
She was gutted when it went. And here's the great thing.
If it's your first car, you develop a bond.
Oh, hugely.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I loved it. I loved the fact that it was so... Do you know what I loved about it? I was expecting so little for 380 quid, and it excelled by being actually so good for what it was.
Yeah.
That I sort of did develop a bit of a bond with it. And
you didn't like it, but you respected it.
Yeah, exactly that.
I was like that with my old Picasso.
Oh, really?
Well, who likes a Zara Picasso?
Yeah.
It's not the best thing.
No.
But...
Well, this brings me on to something, I wanted to talk about, which is cars that you have owned that you like and appreciate, but never really got to love or formed a connection with. There's a few of those in my history. I guess the Picasso.
I figured there would be, because otherwise you wouldn't have brought it up.
Well,
we just want to talk about you,
obviously.
I
spent a whole episode talking about me last week.
I know. Yeah, I feel a little bit bad. But I mean, we were having some contractual difficulties, and my appearance fee was
exactly. Well, I got my people to talk to your people, and we resolved it, didn't we? It was all good.
Did they? I don't know. I'll have to consult my PA. But no, I mean, I don't have any of those situations because every car purchase I make is an informed purchase.
And you love.
It's an informed decision. I have the courage of my convictions, and I know what I'm getting myself into, and I regret nothing.
Okay. What about that Zara Picasso, though?
That was a very good car.
Yeah.
That was a very good car, and it did a job.
I'm saying
and I
there
don't
are cars
regret it.
that you respect and you admire, but you never love.
Well, no, I didn't. You don't love most cars, do you?
Yeah, you get a bond with a car.
You've got a Skoda.
No, I love it a bit.
You don't love it. It's just a Skoda.
It's great. great. It's tremendous.
No, you love your D Special.
I don't love my D Special.
No, maybe not. There's a fine line between love and hate.
I have a very, very love-hate relationship with my D Special.
That's very much the mistress in this.
That's the thing. I probably love the Skoda because it's been pretty dependable by comparison with the D Special.
Till the GSD system shattered
Yes,
itself.
it did do that last year, which was disappointing. I love it less now because of that, I must admit. But
I don't know. I mean, I think that's it. To be honest, if you say cars that you've had and you kind of look back on and go, you were good, well done.
Yeah.
I didn't love you, but you were good.
Yeah.
That I've had quite a lot of those. That tends to be the kind of cars. I don't drive cars I love daily because I care about it too much. So you need to have something like this where it's liberating to park a car up and walk away from it and not care.
True. Yeah, I get that.
Especially when we go to the football or something and you have to park it in some dodgy neck of the woods.
Yeah. There's something to be said for a car like that. A lot of the bangers I ran around at uni were a lot like that. I'd buy these things. You could do this back then, and you just can't do it nowadays. You'd buy something with a ton of MOT on it for like 300 or 400 quid. You'd win it on eBay, because back then nobody really wanted to buy a car on eBay, and you'd win this cheap. It was always a bit kind of luck of the draw as to what you get, but I got really lucky on a few occasions. I got less lucky on others. But I remember one of the ones I got was an old Mondeo diesel. All the lacquer was peeling off.
1.8 TD.
The 1.8 TD.
The Endurer.
Yes, it was an amazing spec. It was a 1.8 TD gear. So somebody had gone up there with the spec and down there on the engine.
I'm going to have the plush trim and the fake mottled brown wood.
That's it.
And everything inside. I would like a V6 to propel this? No. I would like a tractor engine.
A horrendous,
and they're like,
clattery old diesel.
Is this for a bet or something? Like what?
Well, you can see now why I got it for like 295 quid or something like that.
But in a strange way, I don't actually mind the way that some of those Enduras drove, because I had a Fiesta TDDI. Oh,
that's still the Endurer, isn't it? Yeah.
But it was turbocharged, but it's a tiny turbo and very, very low boost.
Yeah.
And it was just so zippy and springy. It was like it wasn't turbocharged. I really actually quite enjoyed it.
That's interesting. I imagine it would be quite, because what were they, kind of 75-ish horsepower?
Yeah, about 75 horsepower, yeah. And in a Mark 5 Fiesta.
Yeah, it's kind of pokey.
Fiesta Freestyle. Oof. Actually didn't mind that car.
See, it was less pokey in a big old Mondeo.
Because they only had about 15 horse. No, not even that. I suppose about 80.
Yeah.
8 horsepower.
Something like that. Yeah. And it wasn't. It wasn't sprightly. But the great thing about that car, I distinctly remember, you could actually see people. You'd be coming along a traffic queue or something. You'd be in the right hand lane, and there'd be a traffic queue in the left hand lane. You were going right, and they were all queuing, and you could almost see people go to pull out in front of you and cut you up.
Yeah.
Look in the mirror and go, better not get in the way of that.
Do you remember the Estate? My Citroen BX 19 RD Estate.
Loved the Estate.
That was fantastic because every roundabout was a game of chicken. Because it was like, you'd be coming round and you see someone thinking about pulling out and you're like, go on.
I don't
try
care.
it. I don't think you will. One of us is going to back out. It ain't going to be me.
For listeners who are not aware of the backstory here, the Estate was a car you pulled out of somebody's barn or something, wasn't it?
No, we got offered it. A friend of mine and me, because it wasn't just him, obviously. We went on. There used to be a forum online called "Where's the C word jar?" I'm going to find the C word jar.
Hey.
There was a forum called Citroens with a Z.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's defunct now, I think. And it was actually quite good. And a guy went on there and he said, I'm giving away a Citroen BX diesel Estate. We don't want anything for it. It's MOT.
Of course you said yes. I will have this.
And it's done 170,000 miles. And everyone went,
ooh.
It was these days, you'd go, it's quite low.
Yeah.
It was in Sheffield.
Okay.
It's a day trip. Fun.
Should have done it in a Vauxhall Cavalier 1.6.
No, we did it in a Xantia Activa.
Oh, the Xantia Activa that followed the Cavalier.
Yes, because I had to drive it. Because the night before that, we went to a burger van and hung out like we used to when we were youths.
Great days.
This is me and Si who had the Capri.
I know, yeah, I remember Si.
And he got on the back of a DHL van and stood on the step on the back.
Right.
Because he's a dick. And it drove off.
Oh.
With him on it. And he fell off and we had to take him to A&E. And then the next day he was like, well, I can't really go to Sheffield now. And I was like, the hell you are? We need that car. That car is free. It will go. Yeah, I said, I'll drive on the way up. So you've only got to do one leg of it. Yeah. But if you have to drive one-handed, you drive one-handed. I want that car. And I can't do it myself unless I leave your car in Sheffield, which I'm willing to do.
Yeah.
But we went to Sheffield to get this car, and the guy was like, "Where are you coming from?" And we said Hampshire, and he went, "Oh, it's really not worth it." What a lie that was!
Really,
the car was fantastic.
Yeah.
We got up there. The only thing we did wrong, this was August 2004.
Gosh.
And the only thing we did is when we got there, he was like, I'd only had my BX 16 valve, that one. I'd had it for about 2 months. So I was like, I know a bit about these. It's not my first rodeo. We got up there and he bought the thing. Rodeo. He bought it new.
No.
In 1989.
I didn't know that about it.
He bought it new. It had been serviced on the dot.
Yeah.
Never let him down. They'd driven it to France, had the GB sticker on the back. It had done all the kids' holidays and stuff. The missus, the wife, cried when it left.
Oh.
He said, "Oh, do you want me to show you how to do the gears?" And I was like, "Are you trying to be funny?" You know. And he was like, "No, it's difficult." And I was like, "This ain't my first go, mate. I'm sure."
I love the confidence of youth.
And I walked out. And do you want to test drive it? Make sure it's like, nah, it'll be fine. Be fine. It's free.
It's free.
I'm not going to knock you down. If it breaks down at the end of the road, I'm just going to abandon it and carry on my way. So, so I got in it and I started it up and I went to put it into gear.
Yeah.
And it ground. Oh God, sort of thing. And they just stood at the. Stood watching me. She's in tears because the car's going, and now I'm mutilating it on her driveway. And then I was like, right, okay, oh dear. And I thought I'd got one, and it shot forward, and there was another BX in front of it. And I was like, that's not good. So I managed to stop again, and I switched it off, and I said, yeah, can you come and show me how to put it in gear, please? And because basically all the linkages were just baggy as hell.
Right,
Looking back at it, I could have sorted it, but
right.
Yeah, so we drove it back from there, and it was just the best car ever. It was.
You put that car through an awful lot. It did. I seem to remember that it was almost. You were very proud of the fact it was basically unkillable at the time.
It was unkillable. Yeah, we drove to, and I thought I'd killed it eventually because we put it in a barn because he kept going away. We shared the car basically, and then he went away to do skiing or something in the winters.
Okay.
And his dad had a barn,
right?
And one time, at some point, we had no use for it, I think, but we didn't want to get rid of it.
This is what I remember. You dragging it out of the barn.
Yeah, we put it in a barn, and it stayed in there. First time, it stayed in there for 3 years,
right?
I think he'd probably remember better than me. About 3 years, and we went to the pub one night, and we were telling this guy at the pub about it, and he was kind of, you could tell he was just.
Riveted.
Bewildered. Yeah, he was like everyone here. Everyone's like, and then the night culminated as it does by going, we should go there now, because it was like 11 o'clock at night. They've been kicked out, and it's like we should go to the barn now and see if it starts. So we're driving around getting jump leads and things at 11 o'clock at night on a school night, and we go to this barn in the middle of a field in pitch black near halfway between Southampton and Romsey, I think it was. No, somewhere between Salisbury and Southampton.
Okay.
Traipsing around this field full of horseshit to see if this BX would start. So,
it did, I presume.
Yeah, first time. And then we left it again. Did we drag it out? I can't remember if we dragged it out. And then we left it. Then it got left in there for 7 years. 7 years. And then eventually we came back to it, and the shrubbery had grown all over it and everything like that. We went back with a jump pack and everything like that, and it didn't start on the first turn of the key because the starter motor jammed.
Right. Okay.
It went click.
Right.
Like that. And then the second turn of the key, it started first time.
Right.
And it rose and it ripped all the shrubbery.
All the shrubbery around. That's absolutely amazing.
We filmed it actually and stuck it on YouTube, and it made loads of views.
I bet it did.
Yeah. And then
it's still there today, I guess.
No, I deleted it because I started my own channel on that same channel. So.
Well, maybe you could find the footage.
Well, now I'm monetised, I'll stick it back on.
Yeah, I was going to say, for
it was filmed on a potato.
YouTube audience, you could actually see the estate rise.
I don't owe them anything. I just have to take my word for it.
Yeah, fair.
So it was a fantastic car. I can't remember how that story started, but Jesus, that was a segue.
Well, we started talking. We actually started talking about cars that you didn't connect to.
Well,
but the estate. I was going to say the estate was a car that you loved. You know,
it was. I was heartbroken to get rid of it.
Yeah,
it expired.
Right.
Well, no, it didn't, because it's the estate.
Yeah.
I thought it had expired in the NEC car park. So I went to the NEC Classic Car Show.
Okay.
In 2013, and I saw a Mark II Jag broken down under a bridge, and I did the Nelson Muntz laugh.
You're a terrible person.
Oh, God, yeah.
You're a terrible
Awful.
person.
I was like, it was all like steam pouring out of it. I was like, that's your day ruined.
So
like
you
that.
basically got your comeuppance.
And then there was traffic, and then BXs don't have those ones don't have a temperature gauge, as you remember.
No.
They've just got the warning light, which basically means your engine has died.
It's too late.
It's just giving you a heads up, you've got trouble. and I was sat there, and the heater stopped blowing hot, and I thought, what's going on here? Heater stopped blowing, and then the red light comes on. I thought, no, not me as well, sort of thing. But of course, I didn't pull over under a bridge like a chump. I just kept going. So I had all the steam coming out the bonnet.
Nice.
I was just sat in traffic like there's nothing wrong. This is fine. Like that little meme with the dog and the fire. This is fine. And I'm pulling into the NEC car park and people are walking past it like that. And there's steam and smoke coming out the sides of the bonnet. I was like, it's still going. And it did. It drove in.
Amazing.
Drove in. It was just like I had a smoke machine under it. And I stopped it and I went in and I tried to give it away.
Oh, incredible.
To someone in the show, because I was like, that's not going to make it back.
Yeah.
And I gave it away, and I got loaned a BX by my friend Vanny. I drove that to Coventry. I stayed there overnight. I found a home for the BX for the estate, and on the last day, we took it out the car park at the NEC, and drove it to this guy's house in I can't remember where it was, Ashby de la Zouche. Right, that's where it was.
It's a great town name, if ever there was one.
It was a great town name. And he got it, and then it's been through loads of other people since, having had no work, and still works. So we don't know what actually happened. I think the engine got so hot that whatever it was that had blown fused itself back together.
Incredible.
So the only way you knew it had run out of coolant is if the heater stopped working. So, yeah, I love that car.
Yeah.
I got pulled over towing a big trailer with it. It was...
I remember the big trailer.
Vastly overweight. Looking
the
back
things
at
we did when we were kids.
Horrendous.
Oh, I know, it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. Took it green laning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great.
So I was going to say, but this is my point. This is
I've
an
completely
example of
missed. I've lost your sort of your subject here completely.
But you're making my point inversely, because this is a car that you had a connection with and you love. But there must have been cars you respected.
I did, yeah. But if I truly loved it, would I have got rid of it?
Yeah, but you did. You felt sad when it was expired. Yeah.
Not only until I found out that I did have a way of getting home. Once I knew I had a way of getting home, I thought, oh, that's all right then, that's not a problem.
Fine, whatever.
And I had to drive home in my friend's BX, and then the next day come back up again, because I hadn't booked a hotel. So drive back from Coventry down here, and then back again the next day. No. And the A34 was shut on the way home, and I had to direct through Wantage in the middle of the night. And then when I got back onto the A34, a guy in a Land Rover Discovery or Freelander or something cut me up, and I put my foot down in this BX because it was a 16 valve, and I went around the outside of him, and he got really angry and started swerving towards me.
Oh my God.
He was, because I was overtaking him.
Good.
You can't have that with cars that you don't love, I suppose.
No,
you can't have these memories and things. This is some segue. I mean, even for me, this is...
I suppose, really, I suppose what I was thinking of was my Mazda.
You just wanted to talk about your Mazda?
Not really.
Which Mazda?
I don't really want to talk about my Mazda. You see, you've actually forgotten my Mazda already. I had a Mazda 3.
Oh, Jesus, that!
Remember? Which I respected, but never, ever fell in love with it. I never felt any connection to it whatsoever.
Man, I needed to call the Samaritans after you picked me up on that. I was so down. I was just like, the Samaritans would be like, what do you feel? And I'm like, I feel nothing.
Nothing. Just
do you feel sad? No, I don't feel sad. It's not bad.
But this
I
is
just
what
feel
I mean.
Nothing.
A car that you respect, that did everything it should have done, and I could not get into it at all.
The funny thing was, I thought it would be all right, because the generation before that, a friend of mine has, which is quite...
I've seen it on the rolling road.
It's quite a neglected one, but when she got it, it was in okay condition. Yeah. Actually not a bad car. I think it drives very nicely.
Yeah, well, I think part of the reason... Mine drove okay, but part of the problem was mine was a 1.6 and hers was a 2 litre, and the 1.6 had a fairly asthmatic 105 horsepower engine. 2 litres is quite a lot.
So for her to buy the better version, despite not knowing anything about cars, and you, the esteemed motoring journalist, ended up buying the crap one.
Well, I was being an esteemed motoring journalist who's trying to be sensible, and I was too sensible. That's what.
God, you trying to be sensible.
Well, there you go. Exactly. It's quite a thought,
actually, no, you had to redeem some of your... That was basically an adverse reaction to you buying the D.
Pretty much.
Buying Audrey.
But pretty much. You're actually not wrong.
You needed to cleanse your palate.
You're not wrong. But basically, I was in a situation where we needed another car, and I didn't have very much money because of the D, and I had to buy something extremely normal and ordinary. Yeah, well, I should have done, really.
Because this is £35 a year to tax, right? And
yeah, but I do a lot on motorways, and this is probably not great on the motorway.
it's not horrendous on the motorway. It's
not exactly a winning review that you've given it there.
what? It's not horrendous.
It's not horrendous. It's kind of damning it with faint praise, really, isn't it?
It is slightly noisy.
Okay.
For example, so you see down there the transmission tunnel.
Yes.
If you touch the carpet,
Okay. Oh. The carpet is just glued onto the metal, isn't it? There's no underlay or anything like that.
there's no sound deadening at all.
There's nothing. No. Good.
And the carpet's made of like recycled bottle tops.
Yeah, I was going to say
Pepsi Max
that's pretty cheap. Yeah.
or Coke or whatever.
Yeah.
Roller cola. The only thing I do find quite funny about it is the headlining is actually quite plush and quite decent.
Oh yeah, there's actually a bit of give on the headline, isn't there?
Yeah, and it's fitted,
the bit you
really
never
nicely.
touch.
Yeah.
What are the bits you actually touch like? Quite cheap and plasticky, aren't they?
I didn't think that bit was too bad. The heaters, okay, there's not a lot of free play in the indicators, if I remember rightly.
You're free play in the indicators.
Become my thing.
No, you're right. There's not a lot of free play in the indicators.
It has, when you start the engine, in fact, you can start the engine, go on.
Okay.
Hear it.
Let's hear
it.
Let's rouse the beast.
See if you can guess how many cylinders it's got.
Well, I know how many cylinders it's got.
Oh.
And I would have guessed by now anyway. Isn't this an Igo engine, basically?
Yes.
Toyota Igo engine.
How would you say that sounds?
Oh, they sound great.
Really?
Yeah, it's buzzy little, thrummy little three-pot.
Oh,
Yeah,
bloody
great.
awful.
Yeah, it's noisy though. I like the way a three-pot sounds.
So do I. I drove a Honda Beat, right, which is in the top 5 most fun cars I've ever driven.
Yeah.
And when we got this, I thought, it's going to be like a little... It won't be quite as fun as the Beat. Maybe it'll be like 80% as fun as the Beat. And it's not.
It's not that.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
The worst thing I ever said about this car, you're right, in the engine, it is the 1KRFE. It's the engine that's in an Igo or a C1 or whatever.
Okay.
It's basically a Toyota engine, I think. Well, technically it's a Daihatsu engine, but Toyota, Daihatsu are the same, really, anyway. But I've entirely forgotten what I was going to say, so you might have to move on to something else. I was going to come up with some absolute gold there. Oh, yes. No, the stupidest thing I've ever said, and that's...
Great podcasting material.
That is a low barrel. That is... low bar, sorry. A deep barrel. A low bar.
What are you even talking about? I've lost the thread.
The stupidest thing I've ever said was when we got this car, I said that I didn't think there was much difference between this and a Fiesta, and this probably drove just as well.
That's
and I got laughed
probably
at.
stretching credibility.
Yeah, I had a Mark 6 Fiesta in the other day.
Yeah.
Which I had driven before.
Yeah.
And I drove it again and thought, that was daft.
That was a silly thing.
That was a silly thing.
Look, we all say silly things.
We do, It's not about Mercedes AMGs being like TVRs.
Just thinking about that.
What happened with that? Was it you managed to... I was going to say you managed to upset half the piston heads, but that's easy to do. Just show a bit of empathy for another human. You'll upset piston heads. But, like...
I said... what happened was, I'd not really driven anything of that ilk before, and I went out and I had a crack at an AMG something. Some big V8.
I thought it was an SLK, wasn't it?
No, it was an SL, I think. It might have been. It was bigger than an SLK. I think it was an SL. And I said something because it felt a bit leery and it was a bit leery and a bit kind of noisy and I sort of said, my argument was, because TVR had just gone by the wayside, and I said, my argument was, is there any kind of salvation for people who want a TVR in a car like this? And got roundly derided, which I can understand because there's not a lot of similarity between them. But my comparison
they both have 4 wheels and a V8.
My comparison was basically noisy raw TV8s with a bit of lairiness to them. That was it. So I can see what similarity I was trying to draw, even if it was very tenuous. And having now owned a TVR since then, I can also see
you got in it and drove it and went, that was a silly thing to say.
Pretty much, yes. I can see where I was going with it, but I think I probably needed somebody to turn around and just say to me, "This you probably don't want to publish this. I see where you're going with this, but
no, because they knew that it would get traction.
Well, probably
It threw you to the lions.
Probably, unlike an SL, funnily enough, an AMG SL on a wet, rainy day.
A lot of traction. Yes, I swear it was an SLK.
No, I don't think I've driven a V8 SLK. I think it was an SL. I have a feeling it was an SL. It was big and a bit ponderous. And
really, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
If you think
I said something silly in comparing a V8 Mercedes to a V8 TVR. There is all we really need to know.
This is not a TVR podcast, by the way.
No, it's not a TVR podcast.
We need a T-word jar as well.
We have spoken about TVRs twice on this episode.
More than twice.
Is it more than twice?
Oh no, in previous episodes.
Yeah, but in this particular episode, we've managed twice, haven't we?
We have done that, which is probably a car manufacturer that doesn't even exist anymore. Well, no, technically it does, but it's as good as not existing anymore.
Well, no, but I think we can probably cram in about 3 more mentions before the end of the podcast.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
But actually, one of the reasons we're in the Sirion today is to talk about...
Because I drove it to work.
Because you drove it to work. Yes. But let's try and make out like we planned this, shall we?
Yes.
One of the reasons we're in the Sirion today is we thought about wondering aloud...
You wanted to.
...as to why the cars like this don't exist anymore. Well, they do. It's not to say that cars like this don't exist anymore. There are far fewer of them, and the problem is they're getting harder and harder to make and more expensive. And we've talked in the past how once upon a time you could buy a Dacia Sandero for 5,995, and now one will cost.
I don't remember that conversation.
Yeah, we have. We've said that you could, and the fact that nowadays it will cost you £14,200 to buy one brand new.
Oh, the Dacia Spring you mentioned.
Well, we talked about the Dacia Spring as well. Yeah.
This is the problem. I've come into these podcasts, and you're going to say now we're going to talk about what small cars are available, and I'm going to be there going, I don't know any of these cars. They've killed the Fiesta. Have they killed the Corsa?
They've killed the Fiesta. No, the Corsa's still alive and well.
Do you know what I liked?
Go on.
The Adam.
Do you know what? The Adam, I thought it was quite a good looking car.
Yeah, really.
I've driven a couple of Adams. They did like a 1.4 litre S, which was not really a warm hatch even, but it was just...
So it was Adams.
It wasn't Adams. Yeah, the Adam was... I remember driving it, and I thought, okay, it's meh to drive, but I could get the idea of a zingy little hatchback. Quite cramped in the back though. But then all the stuff it was going up against was Fiat 500s and that. It was an attempt to cash in on the success of the Fiat 500.
And I actually kind of respect Vauxhall a little bit more for it, because the 500 was playing on the past.
Yes.
It wasn't a fresh design.
No.
Vauxhall actually tried coming in and doing something. Well, Opel, yeah. Tried coming in from scratch and doing something. And actually, looking back at it, I didn't appreciate it enough at the time.
It was an interesting strategy they had at the time, because you could actually buy 3 Vauxhall stroke Opel small cars. You could have the Corsa, you could have the Adam, and you could have the Viva, which was sold in Europe as the Carl. The idea was there was an Adam and a Carl, because there were 2 Opel brothers, Adam and Carl.
They should have called it Adam and Eve.
Yeah, they should have. Well, they brought the Adam over here as the Adam, and it got so roundly laughed at that when they then talked about bringing the Carl over here, Vauxhall bases, no, we can't call it that. Can't call it that, so they call it the Viva.
The Carl.
And effectively what you had was the Corsa was kind of the mainstream one, the Adam was the premium one, and then the Viva was the really cheap and cheerful one to kind of go up against the Sanderos of this world.
Right.
It's quite an interesting strategy. I don't think it paid off for them because, well, they don't do it anymore.
Do they still do the Adam?
No. The only Vauxhall small car you can buy now is the Corsa.
I suppose they're all on PSA platforms now.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's Stellantis platform. It's all stupid name. The Corsa is basically a 208 under the skin. It's exactly the same car as
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because some of the best things about a Peugeot 208 is the way it looks.
Yeah.
So if you take that away...
So the Corsa, I don't think it's actually... I think the new Corsa is actually quite a nice looking car, personally.
I don't know what it looks like, so I couldn't...
No, yeah, well, you mean you haven't seen the many adverts for Corsas around the place? You haven't noticed them on the road?
They have not caught my eye.
It's fair to say they've not been a monumental success then in that case.
Well, I don't think they're aimed at me.
Well, that's a fair point, yeah.
Fair. I think
they sold quite well.
I've seen the new Astra.
New Astra,
and I think they look at... Because has that got the little sort of C-pillar homage to the Mark 1 Astra?
Oh, I don't know if it's
it's got the little this is the technical term, the little Dubry. The little Dubry firkin. It's got the little plastic triangle with the little slats in it.
I don't think it's got that.
I swear it's got something like that.
It's a good looking car either way.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it's got that big black kind of visor along the front. They call it the visor grille. That's their word for it.
That's ruined it a little bit.
But it's kind of this big black thing across the front with kind of like and you can't really see the headlights. It's all part of this big black strip. It's quite a neat little bit of design.
I realise we've been a bit too positive about Vauxhalls in these podcasts.
Do you know what? Look, I don't hate modern Vauxhalls too much.
I do. There you go. There's some balance.
Hey, that's good. I'm glad we.
No, I don't. Because I'm indifferent.
Because you know nothing about them.
I'm completely indifferent to them. If one drove past me, I probably wouldn't know unless it was an Astra.
So here's the thing. I reckon Ford screwed up by killing the Fiesta.
Yeah.
So part of the reason they did that was because the reason they've done that, and the reason small cars are so difficult to make these days, there are actually a couple, but the main one is to pass or to get 5 stars in the Euro NCAP safety ratings, you have to fit a ton of safety equipment. That all costs money, and it drives down the profit margin on a small car, which never had as much profit margin.
Unless you're Daihatsu.
And you
just say you've done it.
Well, that's basically why they don't make cars in the UK anymore.
Well, but that didn't get found out until like 15 years later.
No, true.
The money's in the pocket. They've gone.
Gone.
They've been on holiday.
Well, there's your business model for you. Fib. That's it.
Lie. Shamelessly lie. Just say you've done it and you haven't.
But yeah, so as a result of that, a lot of car makers have pulled out of making small cars. Or you'll notice quite a lot of small cars go on a bit longer than they used to.
Is it also because it's harder to make a small electric car?
Yeah, there's that too.
Because I mean, like the Honda E,
yeah,
which is a funky looking little
very
car,
good looking little
with
car.
a goldfish tank.
Tremendous.
Although it hasn't got a real goldfish tank.
No.
So I think that's a bit of a
letdown. They've made an oversight there. Let's face it.
If you're going to say it's got fish on the dashboard, put fish in it.
A dashboard mounted aquarium would have been a heck of a thing.
I'd have been up for it.
That would have sold me the car.
And the thing is, it wouldn't have flattened the battery.
No, like the screen does.
Fish aren't electric, so you can...
No, but the water would have added weight, which indirectly would have flattened the battery as
Not when you're going downhill on regen.
Oh, fair one.
Think about it.
You could even cycle the water. No, that's a silly idea.
It could be the cooling system.
Yeah,
for
you
the
could
battery.
cycle the water through the cooling system.
You can boil the fish.
Ah, that's a fair point. You can know tropical fish in warm water. You need to heat the water, don't you?
Yeah, there's a difference between warm fish and hot fish.
Hot fish in a Honda E.
Driving down the road and you traffic jam and all your fish start floating on the top of your dashboard. Oh no, if fish have got too hot, it doubles up as a temperature gauge. The fish will go horizontal, like floating on the top.
But that has the same effect as the too late light in the BX. You only know it's too hot after the fish have died.
And especially if you've got to know the fish, you're going to be absolutely devastated.
Yeah, mortified.
Malcolm, no!
He's
floating.
Malcolm the fish.
Malcolm the fish, yeah. You have to go to the dealer and get new fish installed. You could have a flap on the side of the car, like a petrol, and they just pump fish into it.
Fish cassette.
It's like when they put fish into those ponds, in America, and they come out the back of a truck, and it's like you think they're going to place the fish gently into the pond, and it goes in like a bloody harpoon. Fish is going to get concussion.
You've lost me on the idea of going into the dealer. I'm actually crying. The idea of going into the dealer and say, I need a fish change.
Yeah.
I need my fish reset.
You haven't got to do oil.
My fish have died. I need a reset.
You're going in for you have to have your MOT and they check you're feeding your fish. Your fish are malnourished, advisory. And it's like, well, I've got a job to do. I've got a dog. I've got the wife.
I can't. I'm dead. That's it.
See, think of Honda. Think of the joy Honda would bring to people if they'd actually put real fish.
So what we're saying is that to solve the problem of manufacturers not being able to make small cars anymore, more fish.
Well, real fish.
Real
not fake fish. Don't put fake fish in it.
Real fish.
Just like fake turbos.
That was a great little car, Andre. I was sad because
it was very expensive, wasn't it?
Far too expensive and far too cramped. The boot was the boot was about this big. But it was if it hadn't been so expensive, you could kind of forgive those things. But I think it was.
You wouldn't buy a small car and then complain the boot was too small.
Yeah, but look at it the other way around. You bought this and were amazed by how spacious it was.
Yeah.
So equally, you could buy a small car and be astonished by actually, even though it's a small car, how really small it is inside.
No.
Like you can barely fit in it.
No.
You wouldn't be upset by that?
No.
Can't fit anything in the boot?
As long as I can fit in it, I'm fine.
Fair. To be fair, they sold quite a lot of Honda E's to people who thought that.
Oh, God.
Matt, he's broken your car.
Hang on.
So there's a bit more wind noise from the passenger side. You know why?
There can't be any more wind noise.
Sorry,
it doesn't go fast enough to get wind noise.
For our listeners, Rich has just managed to pull the window seal off his Daihatsu.
Yeah.
There's a phrase you know.
So Daihatsu, do Daihatsu exist?
Oh, I don't know. I think... I don't think they do.
That says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do Daihatsu exist? I don't know.
I'm not entirely sure that they do anymore. I think they do in some form.
Well, they pulled out of the UK market. They're quite popular in Japan.
Yeah.
That's because of the K car thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which I think we should have.
Well, actually, on that we're agreed. Yeah, I think we should definitely have something.
Because then your car would actually fit in your garage or in parking spaces as
those tax breaks to encourage people to drive smaller, more spacious cars. You're then kind of getting everything you want in terms of the environmental stuff, kind of by default as a result of that. And you end up with them taking up less space on the road. And I think it's a brilliant idea. I think it works really well.
Thank you.
And it encourages people to make more small cars, which we're seeing fewer of these days. But don't get me wrong, the small car is not dead and it will come back. But I think a lot of manufacturers have kind of shied away from them because the profit margins are just so small. And actually, some of them are now saying we can't make it work.
Small car, small profit.
That's it. You're absolutely right. So that's why Ford stopped making the Fiesta, because they reckon they could sell people Pumas.
Do you think Ford have dropped a bollock?
I think they have.
I have not met one person who, I mean, you meet a lot of people who don't know anything about cars and act like they do. And you know people who you think, no, they do know about cars. And then you meet people who know nothing about cars and don't pretend they do. So I just meet a lot of people.
Great.
Well, there was more to that.
Fiestas.
Fords, right?
That's it.
Not one of them has anything positive to say about Ford anymore.
Interesting.
Everyone's like, the people who, like, all the boomers hate the Mustang.
Yep.
And the fact that they've desecrated the Capri name, which is, it's abysmal. The car looks horrendous.
As an avowed Capri enthusiast, it disappoints me.
No Capri enthusiast in the world has ever used the word avowed.
I think you'll find quite a few of them do, actually. The ones who like old Mark 1.
The Capri is a working class car.
Oh, but you've got to think about the people who are liking the old Mark 1s, the old GXLs, and buff them up with chrome.
Yeah, but they're still all called Gary.
You're stereotyping massively there.
Yeah, you can with Capris.
I had one.
Yeah, I know, that's odd. That is the odd thing. You also had a leather jacket and sideys.
I did have a leather jacket.
You thought you were the Fonz, that's why you were driving it. Because if the Fonz was in the UK, he would have had a Capri.
That's true.
Would he not?
Yeah.
Rest my case.
What were we talking about?
Small cars.
Ford, yeah. So you asked me, have Ford dropped a bollock? So ostensibly, they'd probably say no, because they're making...
Really? They would argue with that.
Because they're selling a bunch of people Pumas who they would have sold Fiestas before, and they're making more profit off each of those Pumas.
But are they selling as many Pumas as they were Fiestas?
Yes, it was the UK's best-selling car last year.
Oh, God, people are so dumb. Really?
Yes. First place last year went to the Ford Puma. So, yeah. It's kind of worked for them, you have to say, because it used to be the Fiesta, and now it's the Puma. So, Ford are selling as many Pumas, effectively, and making more profit off each one. However, having said that, the other problem for Ford is, of course, Vauxhall is now creaming it in because everyone's buying a Corsa because they can't buy a Fiesta anymore. But that works for Vauxhall because they've got the economies of scale, because that platform is spread across so many different cars as part of the Stellantis brand. Ford can't do that because Ford haven't got the economies of scale on their small
Ford
cars.
have no friends.
Exactly, that's the problem.
That's the interesting thing.
So they do have a platform sharing thing with Volkswagen, but what that's meaning at the moment is that basically every Ford now that's coming out is pretty much just a lightly restyled Volkswagen. The Capri is a lightly restyled Volkswagen. Yeah, it's on an ID5 platform. So I
don't know what an ID5 is.
Yeah, well, you're not missing much.
Can I wow you?
Go on. I'm bracing myself.
Prepare yourself for this one.
I'm ready. Go on.
I was going to say strap yourself in and be safe, but that is not possible. You're in a Daihatsu. You will crumple like tinfoil.
Yep.
I think I see them on the road, and I think that's not a bad looking effort.
What's this going to be?
The ID3. I think that's what the Golf should look like.
I suspect it's going that way.
Because the Golf is a bit bland.
Yeah, I suspect.
And I think the ID3 is a slightly more interesting version.
It's kind of egg-shaped, isn't it? I quite like it.
I don't think it's too bad.
I think what they're going to do, Volkswagen's naming strategy is interesting in that they basically try to develop a separate lineup of names for their electric cars. And it's a little bit like Ford in a strange way. They just kind of trashed all the kind of brand equity, is the word for it, that you had in the old names. All the stuff people knew. They knew Golf and they knew Passat. Same with Ford. Everybody knows a Fiesta.
They killed the Fiesta. They killed the Mondeo.
Yep, that's it. But I reckon, certainly with Volkswagen, I don't know about Ford, but I think with Volkswagen what you're going to... Because the interesting thing is, we're going to talk about this again another time. We'll talk about what's happened to Volkswagen another time. Yeah, I've just decided.
Okay.
Because there's a bit more we can say about it.
You'll have to tell me what's happened to Volkswagen first, because I don't know.
That I can.
Is the Polo still around?
Yes. Still make a Polo.
Is the Passat?
Passat is only just still around. They don't sell a Passat Saloon.
Heartbeat is irregular.
Yeah, they don't sell a Passat Saloon here anymore. It's only available as an estate, and it's only available either as a plug-in hybrid or a petrol. They don't sell the diesel here anymore, which to me was that if you bought a Passat estate, you always bought a diesel Passat estate.
I didn't know there were other Passats.
Exactly.
I just assumed they were all diesel
Well,
taxis.
there was actually time, probably 5-6 years ago, when there weren't. You literally could only buy a diesel, but they didn't bring the petrols here because diesels were so in demand. Now it's the other way around. We don't get the diesels.
Diesels are the future.
Yes, so Passat's clinging on. Golf's still doing pretty well, but the current Golf is it's okay, but it's not as compelling a buy as the Mark 7 was, or the Mark 5, for example.
I wasn't particularly compelled to buy one of those.
You weren't, but the Mark 7 was actually a really good all-round package, and the Mark 8 has kind of lost something. But I reckon what we're going to see is eventually they're going to work out that ID3 and ID4, because they're not actually great cars, a lot of people have kind of sworn off them and gone and bought other things instead. And we're going to see the names, they're going to forget those names and go back to Golf and Passat, I reckon. Eventually, I reckon that's what's going to happen.
But if Volkswagen are watching this,
yes,
they have to now go,
if Volkswagen are watching
like
this,
hell we're going to, just to prove him wrong, right? Ring Germany and tell them, no Passat, no Polo, no Golf. Call it the ID, like, Buzz
Screw
Lightyear.
Scrof.
Yeah. The hashtag Screw Scrof.
The ID overbore is rubbish.
Yeah.
I can see it. People care about our
Volkswagen
opinion.
Versus overbore.
Yeah, people care about it. We are taste makers in the industry.
Well, yes,
I'm sure.
Kingmaker.
Yeah. What were we talking about again?
Cars that we had that we respected but didn't love.
We moved on from that.
You never even finished that.
Oh, we didn't, did we?
Wow, this has been off the bloody chain, this one, hasn't it? I mean, they're normally back. It's because it's daytime, it's not the evening. By the evening, normally a bit like, a bit tired, and we just get through this, just keep talking so all these people don't listen. But now, it's like, it's 1:10.
Great.
And
good.
Yeah,
I think
had a custard donut.
I think it's been all right.
And
do you want another custard donut? We'll have another custard donut.
I might have a custard donut when this finishes. I'm not going to put everyone through that.
No, quite. No, but yeah, the big question is: are we going to see cars like this? This is extinct.
What, like this?
This is extinct because you don't get cheap and cheerful little cars like this anymore. You just can't, because you can't get the safety standards. You know, like you've alluded to.
So
already.
You can get cheap cars.
The closest you'll get to this
is
is
like
something
your
like
Datchas and your,
yeah.
And what's that other?
You get
wanky Chinese.
The Leap motor. Yeah.
I saw a picture of that the other day, right? I googled it when I was doing the editing for that episode. I can't remember which OB that was. Was it
OB5
or OB5?
Yeah.
And when I was editing, I thought, what's he talking about? And I googled it. You are on crack. That looks awful.
It's a really, really awful.
It looks like one of those like Tata IndyCar type.
It looks. Do you know what it looks like to me? It looks like one of those. You know the pigs from Angry Birds, with the big kind of snouts.
Yes.
It looks like that to me, with skinny, spindly little wheels.
I hadn't even considered that. I can't remember exactly what it looks like.
Well,
not
many people.
I remember looking at it, going, "What on earth?"
In my defence, I don't think I ever said it was a pretty car. I just said it was okay. I think my actual words. You asked me, "Is that any good?" And I said, "It's okay. It's aggressively okay."
It looks like a golf buggy.
You can't. Yeah, that's the thing. It's one of those cars you buy when you don't care about.
It would probably make a very good golf buggy.
Probably would.
Actually, no, it wouldn't. You wouldn't be able to get in and out of it easily. Golf clubs and.
Well, you could cut the doors off, I guess. Anyway, I think we've kind of covered small cars, haven't we? That's it. We've solved the small car problem, haven't we?
Yes. Fish.
Apparently.
We need fish.
We need fish. To make a small car, you need an aquarium on the dashboard.
Oh, you could get a couple of koi carp on this dashboard. It's massive. You could. And they will outlive the car. They do live a long time, don't they?
They do.
Yeah, so yeah, that's...
Mind you, I suppose this probably will as well, won't it?
Because that's live a long time?
Yeah, despite the fact it's a bit cheap and cheerful, it's probably fairly reliable, isn't it?
It's been reliable. Yeah, I suppose I can't,
that's why people
can't sign off without,
What other reason is there to own one of these cars?
Right, so the things that the Daihatsu Sirion M300...
Is that what it's called? Is that the actual
it's a Toyota
model code?
It's a world car.
Okay.
It's a Toyota Pazzo.
Right.
Not Paseo.
No, that's a different thing.
It's a Pazzo, marketed also as the Subaru Justy.
Right.
It didn't have four-wheel drive.
Right.
And the Produum...
is that the only Subaru that never had four-wheel drive?
No, there was Imprezas that didn't have four-wheel drive.
Yeah, but there were Imprezas that did. That's what I'm saying. Was that shape Justy the only Subaru
I see.
that never had four-wheel drive?
I don't know, and I don't care.
Comment. Give us your answers in the comments, folks.
Well, to him, I don't care. And they all come through both of us, so I'm going to be reading them regardless.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I wanted to comment.
Was that a fact? He was right. It doesn't have four-wheel drive. Yeah, and the Produa Mivi.
Oh.
So bad they didn't give it a name.
What? You just given it a name, the Produa Mivi?
No, I think the cat walked across the keyboard.
Oh, I see.
And just stood on some keys.
Was there an ice cream called a Mivi back in the day? There was an ice cream called a Mivi.
Don't know, mate.
That's the only Produa. Is that the only Produa named after an
working
ice
class,
cream?
I would have had a Fab. And they were crap.
Yeah, but
they were crap.
What was the one that was it? What was the Feast? I used to like a Feast. Love a Feast.
Yeah,
really good.
Feast.
Hidden Depths in a Feast.
Yes,
Hidden
yeah,
Depths.
yeah. Just when you thought you got it all. Oh, there's more.
There's like a big lump of chocolate.
There's a
in the
big
middle
lump of like frozen chocolate in the
That's
middle.
it. It's just sensational. Great.
But then Feasts also, when you bit into them, if the ice cream had melted slightly inside, then a big lump of chocolate would fall off and go down your teeth.
You'd have to,
and your mum would go mental.
I wouldn't know. I always had Magnums.
Well, yeah, I can quite believe. Is that what the butler brought you? Is it?
Yeah, quite.
Would Sir like another Magnum?
Right, I think that's probably enough for now, isn't it? Have we done enough?
It's probably enough for good, mate, to be honest with you. Like people are like the numbers every week will just be going lower and lower and lower. Fish. He's talking about. Turn it off. What's the next thing on?
Right.
Bloody Smith and Sniff or something. That's what they want, isn't it? That's a proper one. Listen to that.
Go on. Off you go. Smith and Stiff. See you later.
Bye.